Hey, yo, you ready? Let's do it.
Welcome back, handsome gentlemen and beautiful ladies. We're back with another episode of Lawn Chair Talk, Season 2.
Episode 2.
Yes.
Coming to you live again from Crete, Nebraska, here at beautiful Doane University. Me and Garrett have a special edition for you guys today. We're going to be going into some college football. We're going to be kind of giving another brief update on us, and then also doing a little fun draft towards the end. So it's going to be exciting. Got a lot of special stuff.
Yeah, it should be pretty good. You know, crowd's feeling that one.
Yeah.
Crowd's feeling good for
Crowd's electric about it.
the overview of this episode. So without further ado, I think we roll right into it.
Let's roll right into it. We first want to start off with me and Garrett. We are repping our Jesus One shirts. We just got these. The baseball team just got these. We're pretty pumped about them. Definitely, obviously, us, me and Garrett being Christian athletes, and also just many of our teammates being that way. It's definitely a cool thing to be able to wear that and, you know, wear it to practice, games, stuff like that, and be able to represent that. Something that we strongly believe in, and just a cool thing to represent. It's becoming a lot more popular for college athletes to represent the Jesus One brand. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think being able to have the platform that we have, not that we're, you know, running a $8 million TikTok account like Livy Dunn, but I'm just saying, like, you know, we've got this platform. You walk around, a lot of people will look at you just because you're an athlete. You know, it's just natural. It's how it is. So being able to at least, you know, do something as simple as wear a shirt to bring attention to Jesus and spread the gospel in any way that we can is always good and always nice to do. So definitely grateful for what is he? Is he staying anonymous? The anonymous donor for our shirts, or do we know who it is?
I don't know who the donor is, but I do know that our teammate Sam Kwapnowski really was the guy to really get this going and everything, who has been our FCA leader for the baseball team for this year and for last year. He's been great as far as being a strong leader in that sort of sense, especially with guys trying to get into that, trying to find Christ and everything, and he's definitely been a huge part of that, especially for the team. And so he was big on trying to get those shirts for us. Obviously, as we said before, it carries a great message. And then just going forward with it, I don't know exactly who donated them or how we necessarily got them. I just know that it really started with Sam wanting to get them. So, yeah, just pretty cool stuff that we get the opportunity to wear something like that, as Garrett touched on. I mean, obviously not a big platform that we have, but at the same time, just being proud to be able to wear that, represent yourself in that sort of way is definitely a huge piece of it. And just, that I think that's really important, especially in a time like now. So.
Yep, 100%. So, yeah, a little update on the baseball. We're still chugging away at the fall.
Yep.
We've got our first out-of-team competition this weekend as we are headed to Council Bluffs, Iowa this Sunday to play Iowa Western Community College. It's a very good, very talented, well-known junior college for baseball and honestly every sport. But they've been really good in the past, and so it's going to be good to get out of playing an inter-squad like we've been doing most days and get out and see some different faces and all wear the same color shirt and, just go to war with each other, even if it's just a scrimmage. So looking forward to that. And we just finished up a Doane charity golf tournament.
We did.
Yesterday.
We did.
It was a team fundraiser. It is, I believe, the 4th annual one. A lot of fun. Me and Nick were on the same team. Shot some good shots. The weather played a factor. We had about a 30 to 50 mile an hour headwind pretty much at all times. So had to get a little creative. Feel like I was playing the Scottish Links, got the wind blowing in. We got to hit some stingers.
Yep.
Hit some low drives, but it was good. Very fun. So shout out to Coach Engel and Coach Oltmans for putting that together. Shout out to all the people showing up, including ex Major League Baseball player Jake Diekman.
Yes.
Shout out to Jake Diekman showing up and showing out and
Yeah.
supporting the team and the program. So always good to see some familiar faces, some old players, be able to have our guys on the team right now out there. And, yeah, it was a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, a lot of fun playing in it. A lot of guys were helping out with it, trying to raise some funds, obviously, for the baseball team. Just a really cool experience to be able to do, kind of take a little time off from, just grinding in the weight room, grinding on the field and everything, and just get a chance to relax, have a little bit of fun on the course, some of your friends, some old teammates, stuff like that. So really cool experience to be able to see just a lot of people supporting the baseball team. So a lot of fun for us, and yeah, I mean, definitely something we'll probably hopefully continue to do. I mean, it's a lot of fun out there. But yeah, we did play some pretty good golf. We shot 12 under for a scramble. Not bad. We didn't win.
Get some claps for 12 under. Hey, that's up there,
That's pretty good. I believe the winner was
19.
19 under.
Yeah, 19 under.
So,
But a lot of gimmicks, a lot of
there is
money that people can pay to get advantages.
Right.
We're broke college kids. We got to, raw dog it, thug it out with what we got, which, with our talent, it still puts us out the top of the pack,
It does. Yeah.
Obviously, we're not getting hole-in-ones. We're not paying $20 for a 75-yard approach shot on a par 5, but
I want to say it was,
I like the challenge anyways.
I want to say it was a top 5 finish probably.
Oh, yeah, easily.
I mean, I think we were definitely in the top 5.
Yeah.
So, a lot of fun out there. I think that'll move us into our next topic.
Yes.
Here, looking at college football. Obviously, a lot of crazy stuff has kind of happened just in general this whole year. You look at the preseason poll, seeing University of Texas as the number 1 team in the land, seeing Penn State as number 2, and now this week's updated rankings, they are nowhere to be found in the top 25.
Yeah, it's like you said, been crazy. You've got teams like USF coming out of nowhere, beating some really high caliber teams. You've got teams in top 25 that are just really quietly, really high. You got Georgia Tech sitting at 13. Yeah, I mean, it's been a hectic world, but, as I said last week, talking about NIL, it really levels the playing field to some extent. If you've got the funds and you've got the right program builder, it's really easy to kind of make yourself a contender right away. And that's, I think, that USF's done a really good job of. Obviously, Texas Tech's up there. They've done a great job at that. And then, obviously, you've got the Blue Bloods, Oregon, Ohio State, kind of familiar people that we see up there. But I think that more and more you're going to see those teams kind of come out of nowhere. And, obviously, you're going to see the big dogs like Ohio State and Georgia is pretty good. Ole Miss, obviously, coming on the rise. But you're going to see those Blue Bloods kind of hanging out at the top always because they're just going to have the depth. But you see the dudes that start out at an SEC program, Big 12 program, and they transfer out and go to somewhere else where they want to play, those teams instantly get an advantage because we all know that even the second-string guys at a Power 4 SEC Big 10 school can be a starter at a run-of-the-mill Big 12 Pac-2 team, whatever you want to call it. So I think that we're just seeing a result of the spread of the talent throughout the country, and we're only in week 5, so it's going to continue to get crazy, which is going to be good to see our rankings of college football playoff go up, down, sideways, loop-de-loops we're going to see, but we've got the first installment. It's about that time.
Yeah, so basically what we decided to do was to make our own playoff prediction, essentially. So obviously playoffs is looking a little bit different than last year. So it's 1 through 12 this year, but it's based off seeding. It's not necessarily that the top 4 seeds are guaranteed conference champions. Now it's the best 4 conference champions will have will get a seed, but it's not just straight up those 1 through 4, right? So now I feel like it's going to look a little bit more like the 1 through 12 is really going to be the best of the best, which is kind of cool to see. But so I made my own playoff prediction. Garrett made his. Obviously, this is still pretty early to tell. I mean, we're just really getting into conference play. There's a lot of football to be played. So it's going to be interesting to see some more crazy upsets. There's already just been so many upsets, so many kind of unexpected teams making runs teams that we expected to be at the top to, really kind of be disappointing this year. So it's going to be pretty interesting. So without further ado, Garrett, do you want to start us off with your playoff prediction?
I can do that. So just to double check, is it for sure the top 4 conference champions, or is it 5-2? Is it just 4?
I believe it's 4.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that
Right.
they're not going to take.
Right. So we've got the
conference
SEC,
champ.
the Big 10, the Big 12, and
The ACC.
the ACC, right?
And it doesn't even have to be those Power 4 conferences. It could be something,
Right.
The American,
Yes.
SEC, Big 10, Big 12,
Yep.
something like that.
So
Go ahead.
I think the best way to start us off is by going down 1 through 12, because I think that once you get towards like 7, that's when you start seeing the weird teams.
Okay.
So I'm going to start it off. I got number 1, the Miami Hurricanes. I think that Miami's got the best resume in the country. I think a lot of people have Ohio State above them, but I think that with them beating now Florida State, and then obviously USF was on the come up and they beat the brakes off of them. Yep. And then they handled Florida easily, who just knocked off Texas. So I think that without a doubt they have the best resume. Obviously they also have Notre Dame on the list, so I think that they are a real obvious choice for number 1, and obviously that's my own opinion, but I just think that resume-wise, pretty hard to beat them. And then at number 2, I have Ohio State. I think that they're right there too. I mean, they beat Texas. Obviously, we know that Texas is kind of not exactly what everybody cracked them out to be, but without a doubt, like, they handled business, and they've been handling the other teams as well. And obviously, I think they're like the most talented roster in the country. Yeah. And there's coaches that are saying that Ohio State's defense is the best defense in college football history. So I think that that's going to be a true test when we start getting later in the season, when they face whoever they play in the Big Ten championship. I think they're going to end up going to it. But moving on, I've got Texas Tech at number 3. I think that they're going to win the Big 12, and I think that they really don't have a whole heck of a lot of challenge in their schedule. They have Arizona State on the road, which is going to be about the biggest test they've got, and then they've got BYU at home. But other than that, they've got a really easy finish to the season and a really talented roster, and they've been surprising me in how they've been playing. I know that they have all the talent in the NIL, whatever, but a lot of the times that fails. But the way they came into Utah and shut them down from a defensive perspective, I think that clarifies all the questions that I had originally. So number 4, with the SEC champion, I've got Oklahoma. I think that Oklahoma is going to go in this weekend, and they're going to beat a battered Texas team that's still going to be rocking with Arch at quarterback, which I think is not panning out for them in their offense. And I think that once they get John Mateer back, I think it's open road ahead. Obviously, their schedule is crazy because it's SEC, but I think that once you get Mateer back, which I think would have been the Heisman if he didn't get hurt, you're going to have Ole Miss at home. You're going to go on the road for Tennessee and Alabama, which will be tough games, but I think you handle those guys, and you've got LSU at home to end the season. I think they go and they win the SEC championship. I think they got them at 4. My number 5 team is going to be my first group of 5 team. I've got the USF Bulls. Okay. And the reason I say that is because I think that they're going to end up having the best group of 5 resume with the win against Florida, which I think that Florida is going to end up having a good end of the season. So we'll see what they end up in the rankings. But I think that with their losses right now, I think they're probably out of it. But USF, obviously, they got beat pretty bad by Miami, but they're my number 1 team. So I think USF is going to finish the season, handle Memphis, and then win the American. And so I think that's – sorry. That's who I've got at number 5. At number 6, I've got Indiana. I think that Indiana has a pretty favorable schedule ahead of them. They've got UCLA at home. They've got Penn State on the road, which I think Penn State is fraudulent. I just don't see it. I don't think that they're very good. They lose at home to Oregon. That's a game that, to me, I talked a lot about the Nebraska-Michigan game.
Yep.
I think that's a game that you're not supposed to win on paper, but you have to win, and you should win. Mm-hmm. And they lost. So
especially in that type of
I think Indiana keeps rolling. Their offense has been unbelievable. I love Kurt Cignetti. I love Mendoza at QB. I think they're going to be a really hard team to beat, and their schedule looks really good to end the season. At number 7, I've got Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss, so that SEC schedule outside of Oklahoma being my number 4, the SEC is going to get really messy. I think that some teams beat each other, and it's kind of one of those things where, like, Ole Miss will beat LSU, but LSU will beat Alabama, and so on and so forth. So I think it gets messy, but when we realize that SEC is the best conference in college football, that's when you kind of start to have a little bit of empathy for those losses.
Yep.
And so following that, I've got Bama at 8. Same thing. I like Ty Simpson. I think that they're going to continue to roll. They beat Georgia, so I think that's their statement win of the season. So we'll see. Like I said, I could see them dropping a game to LSU, but again, I think the resume is going to be too good to leave them out. I've got LSU at 9. Same thing. Nussmeier's really good. Defense is really good. They have a couple good wins, but I think that those 3 teams, the Ole Miss, Alabama, LSU, I think they all beat up on each other. So I think that they all remain kind of at that 7 through 9, just right back to back to back. At number 10, I've got my second group of 5 team. I got the Cincinnati Bearcats. I think that the Cincinnati Bearcats lose to Texas Tech in the Big 12. I think they lose to Tech in the Big 12, but which is just insane that they lost to Nebraska. But with the key win against Iowa State, scoring a ton of points, Sorsby looks unbelievable. I thought he was going to be the worst quarterback in the Power 4 after seeing him play Nebraska, but he's been damn near a Heisman contender.
Yeah.
And so I think that they roll, and I think that them at 10-2, hard to leave them out with the win against Iowa State. And we'll see how they play against Tech, and maybe they lose to BYU. I don't know. But at 11, I've got Notre Dame. Notre Dame with the losses against A&M. Not great, but not horrible, given the fact of how they lost with the guy messing up the PAT hold. So that was tough. And then the loss against – who did they lose to the first week? Week 1. Miami, exactly. So Miami being my number 1 team.
Yeah.
I give teams a lot more credit to playing Miami now that I have them at number 1. So Notre Dame sneaks in at 11. And rounding it out at number 12, I have got the Oregon Ducks. I see them – the reason I have them at 12 is because I think that Oregon loses to Indiana because I think that Dante Moore finally gets exposed as a freshman, not being, amazing back there. I mean, he's been competent, but he hasn't been a world beater. And then I could also see them dropping a game like USC at home, Washington on the road, Iowa on the road. I could see them getting in a really gritty defensive matchup and just losing. So I think that they end up being 10-2, left out of the Big Ten championship. But with that resume, I think they wrap it up for me at 12. So That's my crazy playoff at this time. So
I think there's definitely I kind of have a little bit different of a direction. I definitely have some similar teams in there. I think there's definitely teams out there that it's pretty hard to leave them out. But, again, it's very early. But here's what I got. And I'm going to go 1 through 12 just like Garrett did. With my number 1 team, I'm going to go with University of Miami, as Garrett did. I just think they're going to win the ACC championship. They're going to go undefeated. They've looked amazing. Carson Beck has played very well. I mean, a lot better than I thought he was going to play here. I never thought he was a bad quarterback, but I just thought, change of scenery. You never really know. It's his last year. There could be some things that kind of hurt him. So I like Miami. They're going to win the ACC. I think it's just too good of a resume to not have it number 1. Number 2, this is where I feel a little bit differently than you, I guess, but I have Oregon because I think they're going to handle business against Indiana. I think Dante Moore is a legit quarterback, and I know he's young, and I'm sure he's going to struggle at times, but I just think the depth that Oregon has is way too good. I think Dan Lanning is a great coach. I think he's done a lot of great stuff. I think last year, they had everything that they needed. They did everything that they needed to do. They just kind of broke in playoffs, and I think this is their opportunity to really make up for that. And I think it's kind of their year almost. So I like Oregon at number 2, winning the Big Ten, undefeated. Number 3, I have Texas Tech. Legit roster, bringing in a huge transfer portal class that has just dominated every team. And even, they haven't played the toughest schedule, but they just, they beat the shit out of Utah. Took care of business there. And then they go this past week against Houston. And I know it's Houston, but undefeated team. and they took care of business, beat the brakes off of them. I think it's a legit team. I don't see them losing a game. I think they have a couple tough opponents coming up later on, like BYU, but I still think that they take care of business. They go undefeated, win the Big 12. My number 4 team, who is my SEC championship or my SEC champion, is the Georgia Bulldogs. I like Georgia. I think that Gunnar Stockton has been, not as great as what we're seeing, but I still have high hopes for him. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's going to lead the charge. You just can't count out Georgia. I think Kirby Smart is doing great things. I know they had that Alabama loss, but I see them coming back, really taking care of business for the rest of the season and going in and winning the SEC championship. Being able to slide. I think the SEC, it's just so tough with a lot of just interesting things that can happen during the year. And so that kind of leads me into my number 5 spot, which is the Ohio State Buckeyes. I like Ohio State. Obviously, number 1 team in the land as of right now. They had that Texas win, as Garrett talked about at the beginning of the year, which isn't looking as great, but still, it was a high-pressure game. It's tough week 1 to have to go against that. So, and I think, their schedule is pretty favorable for the most part. They have the Michigan game at the end of the year, which, could get a little crazy. It's a rivalry game. Michigan's looking a lot better than last year, and obviously we know what happened last year with Michigan, Ohio State. So, but I still see them taking care of business, and I see them actually losing in the Big Ten championship against Oregon. That's kind of where I'm getting at with this. My number 6 is going to be Alabama. I think they take care of business for the rest of the year, and I think they drop a loss to Georgia in the SEC championship. I think Georgia gets their revenge there. I still think that Alabama, has the resume to do it. I think overall, just the roster looks very good. I know they had that early loss against Florida State, but, even with a 2-loss situation, they're losing in the SEC championship and losing to Florida State. I still like them in a higher spot at 6. I just think that those are 2 quality losses, and they have some quality wins looking at it. Number 7, I have Ole Miss. I like what they're doing out there. I just think that overall, they have some tough opponents, but I think they take care of business. I think they go and lose to Georgia, which is kind of like their tough loss per se, but I still see them as like a 1 or 2 loss team. I just think that Alabama just has a little bit better of a resume than Ole Miss, even if they have the same record or even if Ole Miss has a better record. I just see that Alabama's just going to take that better spot. Then I look at number 8, I have Indiana. I think they've looked great all year, as Garrett mentioned. Their quarterback looks amazing. Coach is doing great. There's just not a whole lot to not like about this team. They have some quality wins. They took care of business against Illinois. Stuff like that. And
Took care of business is an understatement.
Yeah,
embarrassed them.
Yeah, they embarrassed them, right? And then obviously this week is going to be a huge test to see what they can really do against Oregon. I still see Oregon taking care of business, but I still think, Oregon's my number 2 team here, right? So I think that Indiana, with that quality of a loss there necessarily, I see them losing. Not being able to make the Big Ten championship, and that kind of hurts them, but I still see them getting in a spot. They kind of have to at that point. My number 9, I have Texas A&M. Texas A&M is a tough pick for me because I always just see them just kind of having a disappointing run towards the end. I feel like they always start hot or, just something goes wrong, right? And they always end up 9-3, 8-4, Pretty well known for being able to do that. This year, I have a good feeling about it. I think Mike Elko's doing great. I think he's got the roster that he needs to do there. Marcel Reed, I think, just a dual threat quarterback. I like the offense that they're running there with him, and they have some quality wins. Notre Dame, obviously, tough schedule coming up here, but I still see them taking care of business and doing what they're supposed to do and kind of sneaking in there. I don't see them being able to get into the SEC championship. I see some tough games looking at Mizzou, LSU. I think those could be kind of games where, tough losses there, but I still see them being able to get a spot. My number 10 is Mizzou. I like Mizzou a lot. I just think the offensive power that they have there has been unstoppable. Obviously, that we're getting deep into SEC play, and anything could happen. But I still see them being able to sneak in. I just think it's a kind of their time almost. I mean, they were very underrated at the beginning of the season. They're still kind of underrated at this point, but I just see them finishing out the season strong, being able to kind of sneak in there. I think they'll have some quality wins on their schedule. I think that they'll have some losses that look good at the end of the year, and that gives them a chance to get in there. Obviously they play Alabama, Oklahoma. Those are going to be tough opponents. My number 11, I have Georgia Tech. I think that Georgia Tech has a very favorable schedule looking here on out in the ACC. I think the ACC is just kind of a mess right now. I mean, you got Virginia in the mix there, but I still think that Georgia Tech takes care of business. They have Georgia at the end of the year. I think they don't win that game, but I see them just being able to kind of sneak into the ACC championship, losing to Miami. I just think it's credible to be able to put them into that 11th spot. They may, drop an ACC game, an unexpected one here and there, but I still see them being, a 10-2 team or a 11-2 team that sneaks in. And then to round it out, I have at number 12 Memphis. Obviously, you have USF winning the American. I like Memphis a lot. I was very high on USF at the beginning of the year, and I'm still not off of it yet. But I just think that, Memphis, what they're creating there and everything, I know that they had a really good transfer portal class as well, and I like what they're doing there. I think that they rounded out well, win the American, go undefeated. Realistically, I probably should have them higher. I just think that as far as the committee goes, they're probably not going to put them as high. I think they're just going to kind of sneak them into that 12 spot, maybe even having one loss. Maybe they drop the USF game and, win the American. But I still see them as winning the American, and that's where I have them. So there's my 1 through 12.
I think it was great, and the reason I love doing this, and we were going to talk about our teams before the podcast, but the reason I like it is because, one, we have completely different views on this, and they all have good reasoning behind why they're in there. I didn't think of Georgia Tech, but I like them where they're at, and I think that both of us have similar rankings of the SEC teams where they're going to be, and I think that one of the biggest questions on where a specific team is going to be is, what does Ole Miss do at quarterback? Do they stick with Trinidad Chambliss or go back to their QB number 1? And I think that could be a difference maker in their season. But at the end of the day,
I agree.
A lot of weapons over there. Lane Kiffin, offensive mind. I think that he's going to make the right decision, whatever that is. I don't know, but I think that they're going to be good, but we'll see what happens.
I think that's true, and also I wanted to bring up, too, when you had Oklahoma, and I didn't have Oklahoma in my pick, and that was something when you were talking about them, I was starting to think about a lot, and it was one of my teams that I realistically thought that I was going to put in and even put really high. I just think the John Mateer loss is going to be tough, and that's really going to hurt them for a little while. Obviously, he's going to be out for about a month, I think, is the last thing I saw.
Well, I think he's out this week against Texas.
I think
he's back next week, allegedly.
I think allegedly. But
the doctor, the Mr. Hand Doctor from OU seems pretty confident.
He seems pretty
Apparently,
confident.
he's the greatest hand specialist on the planet.
That's what I was saying.
But, I've seen a lot of things on Twitter about apparently he's like the Shohei Ohtani of hand surgeons. So
I think that one's tough for me because I like John Mateer a lot. I think he's a great quarterback. He's shown a lot of really good stuff. Obviously, if he didn't get hurt, Heisman candidate for sure, 100%. I just think that it's really going to hurt them. Obviously, they played Kent State this past week. That's not really going to expose what the loss really means to them. But this week, even against Texas, I know Texas is banged up after the loss against Florida, but it's still Texas at the end of the day. They have 2 losses to Florida at the Swamp and Ohio State at Ohio State. So I don't know. I think Oklahoma's going to be a tough one. I could easily sneak them in. I think just once Mateer gets back, I think that's when I'll really know, how it's going to shape out. Obviously, a lot to really look out for in general for both of our rankings because, I mean, the SEC is just so hard to tell early on because it's top-ranked teams, even like teams that are, just out of it, like LSU, Tennessee. Those are still legit teams out there. Even Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's done well this season. They have a tough loss against Alabama at Alabama, but even then, so it's going to shake up. So,
and we'll see what happens with injuries and stuff too. I mean, like we talked about Mateer, even if he is back, I mean, who's to say he's going to be the same quarterback that he was? We're talking about his throwing hand that got under surgery. I mean, that's a big deal, especially in a contact sport like football. So we'll see. We'll see how it all shapes out. But I'm excited to see how they shake up throughout the year when we'll be back here talking about it.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, I think we'll probably go back. Maybe not to a playoff picture like weekly, but definitely talk about the games that previously happened for that week, and definitely share our thoughts on it because obviously we've seen so many crazy upsets. Just all sorts of stuff that has just kind of changed the whole outlook of college football. If you told me that Vanderbilt was going to be a top 25 team right now, if you had told me that 3 years ago,
top 15,
yeah, top
14
15,
going into Alabama,
100%.
Wild.
I would have thought you were. I thought you were crazy.
I would have thought the only sport they were even relevant in was baseball.
Yeah, 100%.
Wouldn't even have thought about football.
You look at, teams like that, Vanderbilt. Even Illinois, Indiana. Teams like that being ranked right now. It's kind of insane. Seeing teams like Texas and Penn State out. I saw some that the last time that those two teams weren't in the top 25 was early 2000s. I saw Michael Jordan was still playing in the NBA. It's crazy to think about how that is really transpiring and how, as you said before, NIL is really a big factor. The transfer portal is a huge factor. You're just seeing teams that you thought had no business, and now they're really investing in that football program because, they're turning out a ton of money from it. And, they're getting the opportunity to play or pay players, and it's, working out for some of these smaller program teams that you really thought were irrelevant, 5 years ago.
Yeah, and I think that adding to that is one other big key part of this whole college football thing being shaken up is now we're getting to the point in the season to where, like he said, the portal window opening is only 3 months away. Mm-hmm. So a lot of these guys that are playing for teams that could be out of the playoff, their mindset is, what do we have to lose? That's the scariest thing. And that's, I think, the scariest thing about the OU game is I think that Texas is going in like, dude, what the hell do we have to lose?
Right.
We are expected to lose this game, I'm sure. I don't know what the betting lines are. I'm just assuming that Vegas has them expected to lose. Mm-hmm. They already have a bad resume, I would even say, at this point.
It's Red River.
And
it's
so,
a huge rivalry.
Games like that, and talk about the Big Ten, we get to a point in the season where Maryland's playing Indiana, and Maryland's 6-1, but they have a lot of talent, and Indiana could be going into hostile territory. Who's to say that something doesn't happen? Especially when we talk about like the NIL dispersing talent across the country. It's almost like it's anybody's game any given Saturday. So
it really is.
We'll see.
It's turned into that, it's kind of cool to see how college football is turning into that because a lot more games are, you're kind of looking out like what games do I want to watch today and stuff like that. And realistically, you can turn on anything because there's so many upset opportunities everywhere across the board, especially when you're looking at a conference like the SEC. Even the Big 12, K-State is a team that I was very high on at the beginning of the season. Obviously, hasn't turned out exactly well for them, but...
That was a nice sound of their season right there.
Exactly. But even then, K-State could... they still have a talented roster. They could easily upset a lot of opponents and kind of take some playoff hopes, especially for a conference that isn't as talented or viewed as talented anymore because it's just the talent level is just so, from top to bottom, is just so all over the place. So, they could ruin playoff hopes for I don't know their schedule exactly off the top of my head, but I mean,
Well, they'll play Cincinnati.
Yeah,
They can
looking
ruin
at-
those guys, and
we're in Cincinnati.
they'll play Tech. I mean,
Right,
who's to
ruin
know?
Tech.
You know,
I mean,
we'll see.
There's just a lot of things that can happen up and down the board. So I think now we'll probably lead into a little draft special.
You OGs know about this. It's the draft.
It's the draft.
We all know about the draft. Little opening credit music for the draft. Big deal. We know that this is going to be a good one, and we've got a very seasonal one per se, as it's going to be the Nebraska draft. All things Nebraska. I don't know how many people are aware of things that come from Nebraska or are in Nebraska, but we're going to give you a little inside scoop.
We're going to give you a little inside scoop on Nebraska. As we've done in the past, snake draft.
Snake draft always.
I'm going to let Garrett take the first pick. He just has way more ties than I do to Nebraska. I've been living here for now
a year and 2 months.
A year and 2 months, yeah, about that. So, and Garrett's he just has more ties to Nebraska.
Sure.
A lot of family out there and everything. So I'm going to let him take it away. 5 picks each.
Yes.
Snake draft. Go ahead, Garrett.
So with my number 1 overall pick in the Nebraska draft, I am actually going to go with Memorial Stadium. Memorial Stadium, if you guys are unaware, is the University of Nebraska football stadium, and it is arguably the centerpiece of the entire town and maybe the whole state. It is a staple to go to a Nebraska game if you have not gone. If you are a college football fan, you have to go. Obviously, you're probably not going to see the highest caliber football depending on who's coming into the stadium, but I can guarantee you're going to have a good time. And as of this year, they are now selling alcohol, so if the game gets bad enough, you can make your own good time regardless. So Memorial Stadium, number 1 for me. I'll shoot it to Nick.
I like that pick. And by the way, Nebraska football, one of the most electric stadiums that I've ever personally been in. The games there are super fun. If you haven't checked it out, it's definitely a bucket list. So for my number 1 pick, I'm going to go with this is tough. I'm going to go with Warren Buffett.
Oh, dude, what a pick. I had that on mine too.
Warren Buffett, if you didn't know, is from Omaha, which I actually didn't know. But, yeah, he's from Omaha, Nebraska. So, obviously, super rich, very well known. Yeah, I just figured, I mean, he's a big deal. He's a huge figure. Might as well shoot him off the board number 1. So
Great
that's
idea.
my number 1.
I love that.
Pick. And then back to me, I'm going to go with my 2nd overall pick. I'm going to go with the College World Series.
Oh, nice.
So the College World Series, if you guys don't know, the college baseball national championship is consisted of the best 8 teams that come out of the super regionals, and they go to Omaha, and it's a 8-team playoff bracket, I guess to say.
Yes.
And it's called the College World Series, and it always takes place in Omaha at Charles Schwab Field now?
Yes, it is now Charles Schwab Field. It was TD Ameritrade forever.
Yes. Now it's Charles Schwab. So, College World Series, I'm taking that with my number 2 overall pick. Shoot it off to Garrett.
Love it. So, don't worry, I have a backup, but my number 3 would have been Warren Buffett. But number 2 overall, I have got corn.
Yeah.
I've got corn as number 2. I think it's a staple. I mean, our football team's called the Cornhuskers. So, I mean, that really much tells you all you need to know. But corn is a delicious food. It is a huge staple of the agriculture business here in the state of Nebraska. And it also is good for making whiskey. So, it's, got a lot of purpose. It's got a lot of uses. Yeah. And I love it. So,
awesome.
We got corn, number 2 overall.
Corn.
Number 3 overall, I've got the 1995 Nebraska football team. It is considered, by some, the greatest football team to ever step foot on a gridiron. And the reason I say that is because they won the national championship, and they beat every single team they played by at least 14 points. So you do with that information what you will, but in my opinion, that deserves to make the list for the top 5 Nebraska things ever, being a possibly number 1 college football team of all time. So shoot it over to Nick for his picks.
I like that. With my number 3 overall pick, I'm going to go with Runza.
Nice.
If you don't know what Runza is, it's a fast food chain, started in Nebraska. It's kind of ventured out a little across the country, mostly in the Midwest.
I think it's maybe – well, I know there's one in Loveland, Colorado. You Colorado people. Loveland, I believe, is the only one, but yeah.
Yes. So Runza essentially is a fast food chain, but it's famous for its Runza sandwich, which it's kind of hard to describe, but it's basically like a closed-off sandwich. Almost looks like a burrito.
Like a Hot Pocket.
Yeah, it's like a Hot Pocket, basically, and it has beef, cabbage, onions, cheese. It's really good, actually. And, it's just kind of well-known for Nebraska. I think when you think of Nebraska, Runza is definitely one of the things you think of. So I have that for my number 3 pick. My number 4 pick is going to be going back and forth here.
Yes. I mean, it's a lot of choices.
I'm going to go with the 911 emergency system.
I'm unaware of this, by the way, folks.
If you did not know, the 911 emergency system was created in Nebraska.
I'll be damned.
And I just feel like that's kind of,
I'm going to go ahead and give an applause for that pick. I mean, that was electric.
That's kind of my sneaky pick. Just kind of one of my picks that I was like, you know what, we might as well throw that in just to see what we could get from it. But I think that's just kind of, it's a staple. 911, when you have an emergency, where do you call? 911. Who created it? Someone from Nebraska. I don't know who specifically. I'm pretty sure it was in Omaha. But, yeah, so that's my number 4 pick. I'll pass it on.
That's a hell of a pick. So I believe – so I'll be wrapping up with 4 and 5, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so for number 4, I've got the Omaha Zoo.
Okay.
Staple of Nebraska as well. One of the biggest zoos in the world. And if you are ever in Omaha, go check out the zoo. Kind of hard to explain, because, there's so much going on there. But, if you like animals, got to hit it up. It is a staple for wildlife lovers.
Place to be.
Animal lovers. You got to go check it out. It's definitely a cool place to go. And wrapping it up at number 5, I have got Sand Hills Golf Club. It is a golf course in western Nebraska, and it is been ranked as high as 6th in the world.
Wow.
One of the most prestigious golf courses in the world resides in western Nebraska, Sand Hills Golf Club. If you ever have the chance to play it, which I would venture to guess probably none of you got. Oh, no, Nick. All right, so we're back.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we had some technical difficulties, and for the remainder of this episode, it'll just be us talking.
It's be a real podcast now. No video. I could be naked right now. Nobody would know. I actually stripped off all my clothes while we saw the video. I'm kidding, by the way. Still fully clothed. Jesus one's shirt on.
So wrapping up our draft, I'll have the last pick, and I'm gonna go with Kool-Aid.
Yes, Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid is, if you didn't know, from Nebraska. Started here, and just kind of another thing where I was like, you know what, the 911 emergency system. Kool-Aid's from here. Kool-Aid's pretty well known worldwide, so throw them in there for the last pick. Why not?
Yeah,
so that's going to round out our draft here. Yes. Let us know in the comments what we missed, what you would have done differently.
And let us know who you think has the better college football playoff format and who we missed.
Yes, I agree. I also like that.
Yeah, so that'll wrap up this episode of Lawn Chair Talk. We will be back, I believe, shooting later this week.
Yes, shooting
to do
later
a
this week.
preview of the weekend.
Yep.
Slate of games.
Mm-hmm.
And going over MLB playoff games
Yes.
going into the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And and then like I said, we're gonna be back doing this thing pretty often as we can. So.
Oh yeah.
We got the crowd just like, woo! All right,
Crowd's going crazy.
yeah. Crowd's going
crazy.
wild.
So that's going to do it from us here, folks. We appreciate you watching. Make sure you guys tune in for next week or for our next episode, and
Subscribe on YouTube.
subscribe on YouTube.
Follow us on the Instagram at Lawn Chair Talk.
Mm-hmm. Drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe, and with that being said,
We're
that's
done.
it. We're done.
That's it. Wrapping it up.
We'll see you next
See
time.
you guys next time.